At 1:58 p.m. on April 1st, 2014, a call attempt was made from an iPhone deep inside the Panamanian rainforest. There was no signal. Over the next 10 days, that phone, and another Samsung belonging to her friend, would attempt to call emergency numbers 77 times. Most of the calls failed. Some connected briefly, before cutting out. And then, one night, dozens of photographs were taken in complete darkness. Photos of rocks, branches, torn plastic, and something that may or may not have been human remains. No faces, no clear purpose, no explanation. Two young women had walked into the jungle on what was supposed to be a casual afternoon hike. Only fragments came back. This is not just a story about people who got lost. It is a case filled with contradictions, missing evidence, and questions that more than a decade later still divide investigators, locals, and armchair detectives around the world. So tonight, we're going to ask a question that still haunts this case. What really happened to Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon? And why does the official explanation leave so much unexplained? In March 2014, two young women from the Netherlands, Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, were preparing for what was meant to be a once-in-a-lifetime backpacking adventure through Central America. Adventurous by nature and eager to leave their mark on the world, the trip had been carefully planned more than 6 months in advance. On March 15, 2014, Kris and Lisanne departed from Amsterdam, first traveling to Costa Rica before continuing on to Bocas del Toro, Panama. For nearly 2 weeks, the pair explored Panama's coastline, documenting their journey with photos, social media updates, and regular messages home. On March the 29th, they arrived in Boquete, a small mountain town near the edge of dense jungle and cloud forest. According to their plan, they were supposed to volunteer at a local school for several weeks. However, they were unexpectedly turned away. This rejection forced a sudden and frustrating change to their itinerary. With nearly a month left before returning home and no alternative arrangements, the two women rented a room at a local house in Boquete and decided to stay there for the remainder of their trip. Lisanne, in particular, was unhappy with the disruption. In messages to her parents, she expressed disappointment and frustration. The homeowner later mentioned that Lisanne's asthma appeared to worsen during this time. She was coughing frequently and complaining of a sore throat. On the morning of April 1st, Kris and Lisanne set out for a hike in Volcan Baru National Park. Their destination was the well-known Pianista Trail, which leads to the Mirador, a scenic viewpoint at over 3,200 feet above sea level. The trail cuts through cloud forest, a dense, mist-covered jungle where fog rolls through the trees, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. It is a popular hike, but also one that becomes increasingly isolated beyond the Mirador. That evening, Kris and Lisanne did not return. Family members soon noticed that WhatsApp messages had stopped. Facebook updates ceased abruptly. The silence was immediate and alarming. When the women failed to meet a local tour guide the following day, they were officially reported missing. Panamanian authorities announced that search operations began on April 3rd, just 1 day after the disappearance was confirmed. However, local residents later claimed that large-scale search efforts did not truly begin until April 6th, the same day the families arrived in Panama. Despite days of searching by police, volunteers, helicopters, and dogs, no trace of the two women was found. As days turned into weeks, hope slowly faded. Then, after 10 weeks of silence, a crucial discovery was made. On June 14th, a woman from the local Ngebe tribe brought a blue backpack to the police. She claimed she had found it near a rice field, wedged between rocks along the banks of the Culebra River, close to the village of Alto Romero. This location was deeply unsettling. It lay more than 10 kilometers from where Kris and Lisanne had last been seen, deep in remote jungle terrain. Inside the backpack, police found Lisanne's passport. several items of clothing, sunglasses, $83 in cash, a water bottle, Lisanne's digital camera, 2 mobile phones. All items were in surprisingly good condition. The camera and phones were immediately recognized as critical pieces of evidence, potential keys to understanding what had happened. Unfortunately, instead of answers, they revealed even more disturbing questions. Investigators discovered that emergency calls had been attempted just hours after the hike began. Both international and local emergency numbers were dialed repeatedly, but none connected due to lack of mobile signal in the area. Lisanne's phone ran out of battery on April 3rd. Kris's iPhone, however, continued to be powered on intermittently in the days that followed, likely an attempt to conserve battery while checking for signal. Between April 7th and April 11th, a total of 77 emergency call attempts were made using Kris's phone. This occurred while search efforts were already underway, which means one thing was almost certain: at least one of them was still alive during that period. Perhaps the most unsettling evidence came from Lisanne's camera. Photos taken on April 1st showed Kris and Lisanne smiling at the Continental Divide, posing casually, appearing relaxed and in good spirits. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Later, images showed them near a waterfall, taken roughly an hour before the first emergency call. Then, silence. The camera was not used again until April 8th. That night, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., nearly 90 photographs were taken in rapid succession. All at night, all deeply disturbing. Many of the images were almost completely black. Others revealed fragments of jungle foliage illuminated by harsh camera flash. It quickly became clear that these photos were likely not meant to capture scenery, but to create light. Among the images were several that stood out: a tree branch with red plastic strips tied to it, possibly used as a marker. What appeared to be toilet paper and a mirror placed on a rock, a close-up photo of Kris's hair, offering no context. The rest showed only darkness, forest, and confusion. After the backpack was found, search teams intensified operations in the surrounding area. Eventually, fragments of human remains began to surface along the riverbanks. Among them, a torn denim short, believed to belong to Kris, a foot bone, still inside a hiking boot, a large fragment of pelvic bone. Approximately 33 bone fragments in total, authorities confirmed the remains belonged to both Kris and Lisanne. The condition of the bones was troubling. Some still had traces of tissue, while others appeared bleached, likely from prolonged exposure to sunlight. The cause of death could not be determined. The leading explanation proposed that the women became lost after reaching the Mirador. Instead of returning south toward Bouquet, they continued north, deeper into uninhabited jungle. Realizing they were lost, they attempted to call emergency services. Unable to connect, they may have pressed forward, hoping to find help. This path led only into hundreds of kilometers of remote wilderness. Many believe that on April 8th, Kris may have suffered a serious fall, possibly from a height during the night. The nighttime photos may have been Lisanne's attempt to search for her injured friend using the camera's flash, which only activated while taking photos on her Canon SX270. The photo timestamps appear to support this: 1:30 a.m., immediately after the suspected accident, 1:38 a.m., a shot from above, possibly taken from a rock ledge, 1:39 a.m., the marked branch, perhaps signaling position 1:49 a.m., the close-up of Kris's hair, possibly to inspect injuries. While this theory explains much, it does not answer everything. Why didn't they retrace their steps? Were they completely disoriented or forced to flee? Another theory refuses to disappear. According to several reports, a local guide named Feliciano had met the women a day before they vanished. He allegedly offered to guide them across the Continental Divide and let them stay at his farm overnight. They declined. Local rumors suggested he had a history of inappropriate behavior toward female tourists. Some travelers later shared similar stories online. Many believe he may have followed them. However, a major contradiction remains. If the women were attacked, how were they able to keep using their phones and camera for days afterward? Why would an attacker allow repeated emergency calls? Unless fear itself drove them into the jungle. One of the most controversial details involves photo 509. All photos on the camera are numbered sequentially, except this one. Photos 508 and 510 exist. 509 does not. Some believe it was deliberately deleted because it showed something, or someone, important. But deleting a single photo without trace would require a computer and specific software. If foul play occurred, why delete only one photo and leave the camera behind? Why leave the backpack intact? These actions do not align with typical criminal behavior, unless confusion itself was the goal. Years later, investigators and explorers attempted to match the night photos to a location, believed to be near a waterfall and a rope bridge made of cables. It may have been where Kris fell, or it may not. The truth is, we don't know. Were Kris and Lisanne victims of a tragic accident in unforgiving terrain? Or did someone play a role in their final days? Too many questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they always will. Somewhere in the Panamanian jungle, beneath mist and shadow, the final truth remains hidden, waiting silently among the trees.